Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear friends. I pray you're all well. Okay, let's resume. Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillah. إياك نعبد وإياك نستقيم صراط الذين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا وصدقا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا أرحم الراحمين ويا أكرم الأكرمين ويا ذا الجلال والإكرام. So, Alhamdulillah, in the last couple of sessions we've been looking at the Akhirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took us to the Akhirah in this beautiful description in the previous verses, and we looked at the fate of the disbelievers, how they would not enter paradise. We looked at the fate of the believers, how paradise is given to them, but not only do they enter the paradise through the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their works are what gain them the special gifts and rewards in paradise. But we also saw that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed all ill will and ill feelings and pain that they have, that people accrue, that believers accrue in the dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed all of that for them. So they were able to be with the other believers in paradise as brethren, people who are united and who have great love and fondness and affection for each other. And then we looked at the Ashabul A'raf, the people of the heights, who quite frankly were deficient in their deen. They were deficient in obeying God. They were deficient in striving towards God's pleasure. So when others are enjoying themselves in paradise, they're waiting. And when the opposite group of those who are opposite to those who are enjoying themselves, when that group are being punished, these people are still kept they're at least kept out. So it shows they did something, but it wasn't sufficient. And so they looked at the believers, they addressed them, they spoke to them, hoping to enter with them. They looked at the people of the hellfire and they thought, we don't want to go anywhere near there. And so on another so after a while, the same people on the A'raf, they call out to the people in the hellfire. Now what are they doing? They're once again highlighting to the people of hell, your own mistakes got you there, your own choices, and look how you not only deluded yourselves, but you'd also dissuade others from the truth, and you'd mock and deride those who are willing to give up everything for the sake of God. You see here, the verse says, وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْأَعْرَافِ رِجَالًا يَعْرِفُونَهُمْ بِسِيمَاهُم. Those on the heights will call out some tyrants in the fire, who they will recognize by their appearance. قالوا ما أغنى عنكم جمعكم وما كنتم تستكبرون. They will saying, your large numbers and arrogance are of no use today. Allah protect us. Honestly, Allah protect us. So what they're saying, وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْأَعْرَافِ, that the people of the heights, these people who their good deeds weren't surpassing their bad deeds, they struggled. And so these people, they look and they saw many of these men in the hellfire. Now there's a difference amongst the scholars of Tafsir. Like Ibn Ashur, he suggests that they're speaking to a specific group. These people are speaking to specific people who they knew. And others have said, no, they're just addressing tyrants and wrongdoers in general, and those people have a particular trait, a seema, a particular distinguishing trait. We know that the people of hell, they're going to be burnt to a crisp, black darkness, which we talked about last time, which is not the same as a fair complexion, but they will be burnt to a crisp because of the fire, just roasting their flesh over and over, and they'll have all the pus and everything coming out of them. Their bodies will be huge. The Prophet ﷺ told us that the molar tooth of one of the people of hell will be the size of Uhud, this huge range of mountains. Why? A greater surface area, so there's more of them to punish, and all because of their own choices and their own deeds. So it says wanada ashabul a'raf rijal, any of these men, and the ulama of tafsir have said from the context we can see that it's talking to the elite amongst them, those who held sway of others, those who had influence over others. So it says يَعْرِفُونَهُمْ بِسِيمَاهُمْ. So whichever position you take, either they recognize their physical features because they knew these people in this life, or they recognize particular traits, particular distinguishing traits that identify them as people who wronged others and were tyrants. So we're talking about the worst of the worst. قالوا, so what do when they address them? They said, قالوا ما أغنى عنكم جمعكم وما كنتم تستكبرون. Now we can read this as a statement, and it can also validly be read as a question. So if it's a question, then what did your great gathering, great group, and all your arrogance do for you, right? The reading that comes to mind immediately, which is generally a sign that this is the intended meaning, ما أغنى عنكم جمعكم وما كنتم تستكبرون. So it's of negation, that your large group or your collectivity, right, didn't do anything for you. Aghna an. So ghina is a state of not needing anything. So aghna an shay, it means to put someone in a situation where they're not in need of something. So for example, if you have a problem, someone comes and helps you, aghnaka anhu, right? He freed you from the need of having to do something about that problem, you could say, right? So it's saying that they say to them, you thought you were so great, and you thought you had all the money and the wealth and the power, the whatever the means are for through which people attract others. Either they attract those weaker than them, or those who they can influence, or those who they hold some sort of control or power or sway over, whether it's through their money, it's through their political power, or just the clout in society, whatever it may be. And what and the things that increase this effect on them is when such people are in groups, either leaders with their followers, or many leaders, or many of this elite strata of people who are together, and it fills them with a sense of overconfidence, you could say. It fills them with the sense of superiority, that we must be right, though they must be wrong. Look at all the people on our side. Look at the people that matter that are on our side. That's what they think. Rather, the people that matter are those who close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and material signs and material wealth and all of these things don't affect, they don't do anything, right? Rather, it's all the tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they said ma aghna ankum jam'ukum, your huge group. Or we can also read this verse and the word jam'ukum is your collecting, your gathering, meaning all the wealth and all the running around they did in order to increase their wealth. And why? Because money is power, right? Money brings influence and authority. So it can be read either way, as I said. And but in this reading, if you look at the word, so the ma can be read in two ways: question or statement, and then this jama can be read in two ways: your collectivity or your collecting. وَمَا كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَكْبِرُونَ, and all. So your collectivity hasn't done anything for you, hasn't gained you anything. Neither has your constant and consistent excessive arrogating yourself over others. There's never any need of it, but what they're doing is tastakbirun. They think they're better than others. They treat themselves as being superior to others and others as being inferior to them. And the istif'al, the pattern indicates that they do this, excessively, and almost as though there's a similar wording used in another verse that indicates something is running as fast as it can and still trying to get faster. So they're being as arrogant as they can and still trying to show more superiority over others when they had no right to. And this is what the people of the heights, the Ashab al-A'raf, what they recognize, right? And this is, their criticism of people. So they say, أَهَؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ أَقْسَمْتُمْ لَا يَنَالُهُمُ اللَّهُ بِرَحْمَةٍ أُدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ تَحْزَنُونَ. Okay, so let's read the translation. Are these humble believers the ones you swore would never be shown Allah's mercy? Finally, those on the heights will be told, enter paradise, there will be no fear for you, nor will you grieve. So let's look at this. So ha'ula, as I said before, plural of hadha, this, we're pointing to these people, the close, the visible. So now we have to understand that when some people are in hell and some people are in paradise, there's going to be a great distance between them. So, in the coming verse, the ulama looked at it because based on the wording about Paul, they said that paradise is higher than hell. And we can, we don't know exactly how this communication will occur, especially if there's great distances away. We know sound doesn't travel, all that far, not over hundreds of miles, and not with these. So what it could be is, the equivalent of, say, a portal or something, a window opening, one where they see the people of paradise or the people who are waiting to go into paradise and the people of hell, and the Ashab al-A'raf are seeing both groups and they can all see each other. That's one possibility, and it seems the most likely to me. And Allah knows best exactly how it will happen and how the communication will happen. But there's some degree of this where they can communicate with each other over vast distances. So Allah says that they continue, the Ashab al-A'raf continue to speak to them, and they say, أَهَؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ أَقْسَمْتُمْ, are these the people? Are here, they're right here, look at them now clearly. Are these the people who you swore? They swore an oath by God. They said by God they won't receive any mercy from Allah, right? And they won't get anything good. And what was happening, you had the elite of Quraysh, people of material means and people of status in their society, who looked down at people like Suhaib al-Rumi, Khabbab ibn al-Arat, Bilal radiallahu anhum ajma'in, and others of the Sahaba who were poor, and people who didn't have the same means and social standing as they did. So they said, these people won't get anything from God, because their standard was the standard of arrogance, that look, we are superior to them. If any gift is coming from God, it's going to come to us. He's already favored us, so why would he not favor us the second time? These people don't have anything now, why would they get anything later? Right? Why would they get the mercy of Allah? So they asked them, are these the people? أَهَؤُلَاءِ الَّذِينَ أَقْسَمْتُمْ لَا يَنَالُهُمُ اللَّهُ بِرَحْمَةٍ, are these the ones who you swore Allah? If a literal reading would give you the meaning that Allah wouldn't reach them with His mercy. The mercy being like a tool, like imagine something's at a distance, and use a stick to touch it or something. But literally what he's saying, that not literally, but you can understand it to mean that them saying, are these the ones who you're saying, who you used to swear certain oaths, saying they won't receive the mercy of Allah, right? And Allah will not show them mercy. Birahmatin, none of it at all. Right? The indefinite for, taqleel, the minimal amount being expressed here. And then now we can understand this in a number of ways. So clearly they're wrong. So let's understand the scenario. Either they saw the group, those who are seen as the poor and weak believers in the dunya, these people saw them in paradise through a window, let's say, and the people of hell could see them. So the people of the A'raf pointed to them and said, are these the ones you used to say that about? Look where you are, look where they are. Clearly you are wrong. So that's one way of looking at it. Or those people who they're talking about, these weak believers and of the poor, that they're waiting at the entrance of paradise before actually entering, which makes the next part of the verse, udkhulul jannata, enter the garden, which means that this would refer to those poor people who the others look down on, and they're now going to enter the paradise. It's not necessarily talking about the Sahaba, but others who were treated like the Sahaba, like the Sahaba were mistreated by Quraysh throughout history. So in this way, what we'd understand it is these people are entering paradise, and the idolaters and these tyrants and these wrongdoers in hell are being shown them. Why? Ziyadatan lihasratihim, in order to increase the grief and sadness that these dwellers of the hellfire are going to feel, because A, it proves them wrong, and B, it shows that these people were not inferior to them. In fact, they were superior to them all along. And C is going to show them that they're entering paradise. They don't have any of the suffering the people of hell have. All they're going to have is the reward and the delights that they've seen the people of paradise enjoy. And so he says, udkhulul jannata la khawfun alaykum wa la antum tahzanun. Enter the garden. No one will need fear for you. You're completely safe, and there's no need to worry. No one needs to be afraid that some harm will come to you. No. وَلَا أَنْتُمْ تَحْزَنُونَ, and neither will any of you ever feel sad about anything again. Even the things that they didn't do as well as they could in the dunya, it doesn't matter now, right? Because all they're going to see is reward and gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or the other alternative is that the people being addressed by udkhulul jannah, enter the garden, are, as the translation shows, the people of the A'raf, the heights. They are then told, they were deficient in their deeds, but now they're told, you enter paradise as well. And you don't need to, no one needs to be afraid for your fate and what's going to happen to you. You're going to be taken care of. وَلَا أَنْتُمْ تَحْزَنُونَ, and neither will you feel any sort of grief or sadness over anything that's happened. Even the things you didn't do well in, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate for it with His generosity and mercy. So, it's really powerful. It's really powerful, these people having to go through these difficulties in the dunya, and then they're vindicated on the Day of Judgment. And these aggressors and these tyrants have to suffer not only the punishment because of their actions, but they have to know and suffer that these people who we look down at and who we harmed are now getting the rewards and delights that we'll never be able to get. Allah protect us. So then, once again, we hear another, making this point clear that they're going to have things that they don't. We see that the people of hell actually try to get something from the people of paradise. Where he says in the next verse, وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ أَصْحَابَ الْجَنَّةِ, and the residents of the fire will then cry out to the residents of paradise, أن أفيضوا علينا من الماء أو مما رزقكم الله. Aid us with some water or any provision Allah has granted you. قالوا إن الله حرمها على الكافرين. They will reply, Allah has forbidden both to the حرمهما على الكافرين. They will say Allah has forbidden both to the disbelievers. Okay, it's interesting. وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ أَصْحَابَ الْجَنَّةِ. And it's really powerful, just the repetition of the word ashab, the companions, the people who are with something, with the garden, and the people who are with the hellfire. It's permanent. And just reiterating this, there's people who are there and they're going to be with this punishment, and there's people who are going to be with the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, and that's what they get. So what is this verse doing? It's encouraging us, make the right choice. Don't be of the people who are going to go to hell. Don't do their actions. Don't want what they want in this life, and don't treat others the way they treated others in this life. Try to be people who please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ, the people of the hellfire call out to the people of the garden. So call out, nida, as I said, is for someone who's far away. So it indicates that great distance. What do they say? أَنْ أَفِيضُوا عَلَيْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ. So here it says in the translation, aided with some water. The word fayd, it means for water to flow profusely, right? So for a lot of water to flow, for water to flow, quickly and fast, which then also gives the meaning of there being a lot of it, right? With a lot of water flowing. So it does have this meaning of something being profuse and in large quantities. So they're saying pour on us. So the classical scholars, said that they wanted them to pour something from paradise, a large amount, and then it would fall and go into hell. That's how they expected it. But I think the clearer understanding is that there's a window into what's happening in hell, and that the people of paradise can look through. And that makes the most sense, because they're able to communicate with each other easily, and they're able to see the state of they're able to see the state of the people of the hellfire easily. So it just indicates that it seems like they just can be like they'll have a window or a portal or something that they can see them with, which is why also the people of the hellfire, when they're looking at what the believers are doing, and look, they've got all of that water, they've got rivers, and you can just imagine their grief, remorse, regret, sadness, pain, self-pity, self-loathing, all of these things being heightened when they see all these rewards, and they realize we could have had that, but we made the wrong choice. And so that's why when they ask, an afidu alayna min al-ma, pour, and I was thinking about this, something I haven't seen it in the Tafsir, but I was thinking about this, that why do they use the word afidu, to pour copious amounts? One is probably the intense thirst and intense heat that they're experiencing, so they want lots of it to be poured to remove their thirst and their heat, and so they can have access to it. Or it can also be because there's so many of them. But I think the people in that situation are not going to be altruistic. They're going to be thinking about themselves. Could it be that they want them to pour anything, but because it's a huge favor, it would be a huge favor from the people of paradise, that even if they poured a small amount, they'd see it as they've given us a huge amount. Allah knows best. But anyway, so they say, pour this water profusely on us, or something of what Allah has provided you, the fruits and the meat and the food and the other delights. Because remember, these people are eating zakum, this tree with thorns, and it's just very difficult for them to eat, and they're consuming the pus of the people of the hellfire that comes off their bodies. A'udhu billah. Allah protect us. So this is what they want, and they fervently, they really desire to have this. So what happens? Qalu, So the people of paradise say, Inna Allah. So the inna indicates it's connected to that which is before. Strong connection. So it's a direct response. Inna Allah. Indeed, Allah, the Supreme King, who has absolute authority, harramahuma ala al-kafirin. He has forbidden them, made them impermissible for the disbelievers. So it's not possible for the disbelievers to get it. So what's interesting is that they don't say no, right? They don't say no. And maybe if they said no, it seemed like, they were trying to withhold it. Instead, what they did is just they give the reason why they can't and they won't give it, which is Allah has forbidden it. So it's further, because sometimes you ask someone for something and they may want to give it, but they're struggling or they're worried, will I have enough? You can talk them around it. But when you say no, there's a higher authority who's forbidden it, then the other people lose hope. So the same thing. In Allah, indeed Allah the Supreme King has forbidden them both the water and the other things that Allah has provided. The razaqakumullah wa Allah the Supreme King keeps providing. Rizq has the meaning of something continuous, right? They keep getting many gifts from God. So they said Allah has completely forbidden them on the kafirin. The kafirin, the people of kufr, who know the truth and they cover it up and they hide it. Allah has forbidden them for them. So they will not get any of it. So then it says, we get a description of these people, the kafirin, the disbelievers who cover up and hide the truth, who do this and who have this quality, right? But it's not merely a description. It's actually the exact reason why they're in decisions. He says, الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا دِينَهُمْ لَهْوًا وَلَعِبًا وَغَرَّتْهُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. Those who took their faith of Islam as mere amusement and play and were deluded by their worldly life. فَالْيَوْمَ نَنْسَاهُمْ كَمَا نَسُوا لِقَاءَ يَوْمِهِمْ هَذَا وَمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَجْحَدُونَ. So Allah will say, today we will ignore them just as they ignored the coming of this day of theirs, and for rejecting our revelations. Okay. الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا. Ittikhad is to do something, treat something in a way that's not natural to it. Right? That's not the appropriate and optimal and ideal way of treating that thing. So, الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا, those who took and treated their deen. Deen here can mean their religion, their relationship with Allah. Here it's probably the religion. So if we're talking about the Arabs, it was what came to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, and then what was filtered down and watered down by the time he got to the contemporaries of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then the religion that the Prophet brought sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But those who took their, in general as well, those who took and treated their religion as a mockery, it's not suited to be treated like that. It's suited to be treated with the utmost reverence and respect, and in dignity. It's a revelation of God, and people shouldn't mistreat religion. You take it seriously. So ittakhadhu deenahum, they took and they treated their deen as la'ib, as lahu, as lahu. And lahu is to busy yourself to busy yourself with something that distracts you from other things. This thing that you're busying yourself with, it makes you forget about that which is important. Why? It's to be distracted by something that that the ego likes and it enjoys getting into and watching. But there's something more important that needs to be attended to. So that's what happens. That important matter gets neglected. That's with the word lahu. With la'ib, has the meaning of something of play, something that brings about happiness when you're distracted with it, and it requires some engagement, requires your focus and whatever. But in reality, it's of no benefit. Right? Play can be of certain benefits, but not play at the cost of the akhirah. There's no benefit, there's no good that comes with that. So this is what he says, lahwan wa la'iban. So they took and they treated their religion, instead of being something serious, they treat it as though it's a mockery, it's a joke. And not only that, that's one reason why they're in that situation. And وَغَرَّتْهُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا, and the life of this world deluded them, it duped them, it tricked them, it ripped them off. So they went and they threw their arms around, materialistic possessions and, standards of society, of their disbelieving society, and they didn't care about God and His legislation. They just wanted this, and thinking, yes, we're going to live like this and we'll die and that's it. But their lifespan, the world around them deluded them, it tricked them, and it made them think that things were other than they actually were. وَغَرَّتْهُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though the life of this world isn't something animate in and of itself, it's their choices towards it, isn't it? فَالْيَوْمَ نَنْسَاهُمْ كَمَا نَسُوا لِقَاءَ يَوْمِهِمْ هَذَا. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so today, and this word is really excellent, today it's almost saying that, now the tables have turned. They had all that time to do things one way, or this way, and, there was so much scope and freedom, and, but all they had to do was obey. What they did is they ignored. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, now, today, the tables have turned. Today, you'll wish you were different. Today, you'll wish that you actually did obey. And today, you'll wish that things were different going forward. So he says, فَالْيَوْمَ نَنْسَاهُمْ, we will forget them, literally means to forget. And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot forget. He's absolutely perfect. He knows everything. So we use this metaphorically, saying today we'll forget them, meaning what happens when you forget something? When you forget something, your mind's not on it, you're not thinking about it, you're not thinking about the things that are connected to it. So he says, today we will ignore them. You can say we will forget them, but that's the intended meaning that today we will ignore them and shun them for their actions. كَمَا نَسُوا لِقَاءَ يَوْمِهِمْ هَذَا, just as they forgot this meeting of theirs, the meeting with their Lord on this day. And that's their choice, what they did. They knew about it and they ignored it and they neglected it. And so they're going to have to live with the consequences. Allah protect us. وَمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَجْحَدُونَ. وَمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَجْحَدُونَ. So they're going to be punished and neglected now because of their ignoring the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and because of what they used to do in constantly rejecting the signs, the miraculous, perfect signs and verses of God. بِمَا كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا, tremendous signs, because of what they used to, how they used to reject them over and over and over and over again. And this is exactly what these people did. So this is their punishment. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of the people who have all of these delights of paradise firsthand directly, and to not make us of the people of the hellfire who are deprived and forbidden from all that is good in the akhirah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allah bless you all.